Welcome back. All right, let's put this in the ether. All right, guys. All right, if you think you can find a good woman in church, think again, man. These women who go to churches have a lot of shady past that you don't know about, right? They think going to churches will automatically wipe their slate clean from their pasts, right? If she's single, right, and she's a new follower of the church, right? You got to question her past, right? Most of these churches, most of these girls who go back to churches have some sketchy past. Try get God to forgive her what she done, right? What she done in the past, and thinking the church will automatically erase everything in her life that she done that's very debaucherous, provocative, promiscuous, and all that stuff. Thinking the church gonna be wiped clean. You stay away from these churches, right? Mostly these churches out there are even against men as well, right? Most of these churches, if something goes down, right, they will favor the women over the men. I guarantee you that, right? There's a lot of couple who go to churches, right? Who go to churches throughout their whole wedding, right? And something happened in their relationship. They tend to they get divorces, right? And what happens? These churches usually favor the woman over the husband, and the husband going to that churches for a long time, right? Until they get divorces, right? That's what I'm telling you. Some of these churches, right, will not have your back. They will not have your back. Some, I'm not saying all of them, right? But when you go back and your wife goes to the same churches and you go to the same churches, you go there. It's not. They're gonna look at you differently, right? They're gonna have this view on you. They're gonna be judgmental on you. And when you guys do get a divorces, you're gonna tend to feel like you can't go back to these churches, right? You can't feel like you go back to church and everything will be normal. People will look at you different. Usually people at your churches that you've been going to all your life will view you as a bad guy for divorcing a woman, not realizing that they don't have no idea or no perspective of who fault this was. They're not supposed to judge anybody. But then again, some of these churches will judge you because you are the man, right? That's what people don't tell you about all these churches. If you're a single guy, don't expect to find a good woman at churches, especially these in age. These churches are filled with false guys these days, right? You see all these churches that have the pride flag. Like, why is a pride flag in the church? If you see a pride flag in the church, right, you question that church. You question that leadership, right? If you see a woman preaching in a church, you question that church, right? They're going against every order, everything men, according to God, they're going against everything, right? These churches are highly questionable. Especially church these days, they're highly questionable. Some of these churches are not even by the Bible. They're making up of their own stuff, right? Now going back to relationship, these women in churches. Some of these women in churches, bro, I'm telling you, they really have higher standards than most of these girls out there, all right? They really have this weird expectation, as much weird expectation as these 304s on the streets, right? And not only that, most of these women that go to the churches are former 304s, right? Not only that, when they get you in bed, right? These women that go to churches, they're freak in bed as well. They are more promiscuous in bed than those 3 or 4 in the streets. Let me tell you that, right? I mean, if that's your prerogative, fine, go for it. But, don't expect them to be any different from these girls on the streets. They're still women. They're still women, right? And, who knows, you might want to find that woman who have a shady past. Shady past that she been for the streets, she have a high body count, and she can go to the church thinking that God will forgive her of her past, right? Having all these body counts, right? How would that make you feel if suddenly you thought she was a nice Christian girl and suddenly found out she have all these body counts, finding all these guys smiling at you, not realizing that she banged that guy. She banged all these guys, that guy that keep coming smile at you, right? How would you feel? Guys wouldn't take that lightly. Guys don't like that, right? Like I said, guys are very selfish by nature. They don't like to share things. They don't like to share their women, right? Now, especially a guy finding out that she have a lot of body counts up to the hundreds. And he met her at church, and she lied to him, thinking all this stuff, right? Thinking she's clean, and found out the hard way that she's have a shady character, a shady past. I would be kind of furious in a way, right? I didn't expect that. this is 2023. Things are totally different, right? Things are totally different from 50 years ago, right? 50 years ago, you could find a girl at church and expect her to be clean, right? Now it's 2023, right? If you find a woman these days at church, most likely she's already been tainted, right? And she's trying to get clean by coming back to churches. Usually, women are already taken, right? Woman who go to church for all her life, she's already taken. But a woman who suddenly appeared in church, you gotta question her past. Alright? Women who suddenly just come to the church randomly, right? You gotta question her past. But the woman that's been going to the same church all for years and years, usually they get wiped up already. Wiped up automatically wiped up at a younger age. Right? Wiped up at 18, right? So this is 2023. You gotta be more careful when you go to churches. Women are different, especially these church women, right? They're not any different than any other girls out there, right? They might have slight differences, slight belief. They might come back to God, might have a more conservative view now because she experimented in her past, but yet again, she is a woman. Who to say she's not going to do it again? Who to say her past is not going to haunt you? Right? Are you comfortable with that? You got to ask yourself, are you comfortable with a woman and her shady past? Right? They go to church to hide their past. That's what they're doing. Right? So you be careful. Right? Especially when she's older. You got to question if she's old and single and she's at church. If she's in her late 30s, early 40s, and she just come to church. What is her past? Why did she come to church before? Right? Don't be bamboozled just because she says she go to church. Don't be bamboozled, man. Like I said, they wear a mask, right? So you need to be clear of this. So because she go to church, that doesn't mean she's a good girl. She could divorce you as well, like any other girl out there. Remember, I'm telling you, there's a lot of divorced Christian out there, right? What does that say? There's a lot of divorced Christian out there. What does it say about their vows? What does it say? What does that mean for them and their faith if they divorce? Right? Most of the divorced people out there are Christian, identify themselves as Christian. But you get their divorce. Now tell me how does that work out? Is that kind of conflicting ideology? Right? People realize that. So you be aware when you go to churches. If you're a follower of Christ, if you do, right, meet a woman, you gotta question her vet her thoroughly, right? And ask yourself, are you willing to deal with this or not? Because I'm not trying to tell guys what to do. I'm not trying to tell guys what to accept. You know, it's up to you. But I'm just letting you know what to expect, right? When you deal with these girls, right? Just because they go to churches doesn't mean they have a clean history. So take it as a lesson learned. Just because they go to church, and not only that, yeah, I already mentioned about this. That when you get in a relationship with a woman who's in church, and something goes south, right? The church expect not to go into the same church, right? Mostly the church will take the women's sides, right? The church is very matriarchal, right? They're gonna favor the woman over the man, right? It's the same as real life. The world will favor the woman over the man's side. Now you go to church, it's the same thing. Right? The pastor's not gonna take your side. He's gonna be less sympathetic to you. He's gonna look down on you, right? They're gonna look at you differently. You're not gonna be treated the same as the woman. People are gonna feel more sorry for the woman, right? Even though that she might be the one who initiated the divorce, she might be the one who said it's unhappy, right? When she asks you to go to couples therapy, most likely it's not gonna work out. Couples therapy is an indicator of a failed marriage. Right? If that ever comes to mind, brace yourself, man. These couple therapies does not work. They usually pin out against the men, right? And it's provided by the church, right? It's usually blame everything at men. Like I said, the words will always blame you for everything. Even the church will always blame the men if something goes down in your relationship, right? They don't do anything for you. The church, be aware. There's a lot of bad churches out there, right? There's a lot of bad churches out there, and some of those churches will use you and take advantage of you. And when they can't take advantage of you no more, they'll toss you aside. Right? This is what giving bad churches these days is about. This is what giving bad churches these days a bad name. Right? You're supposed to look for everybody, treat everybody the same. But unfortunately, some churches don't do that. They favor, they choose sides. And that's what leads to them to lose a lot of followers. All right, but let me know you agree, right? These churches, just because they go to church doesn't mean they're a good person. Doesn't mean, that doesn't mean they have a clean slate. Let's say that they might be a good person, but that doesn't mean they have clean slate. All right, be wary about that. But on that note, let me know if you agree. Like, share, subscribe, and always peace and blessings.